Welcome to episode 130 of the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. I am talking to you from Minnesota in January, where the ground is white. The creek is frozen. My 11-year-old was out on the creek yesterday, or maybe the day before, tried to create an ice skating rink. He doesn't have ice skates, but that's okay. He was out there with a shovel making a rink. Everything is frozen. Everything is dead. Everything is white. Every once in a while, the snow all melts because, it's crazy temperatures. And then everything is just gross. It's all brown or gray or muddy, and everything is just gross. And then I open my mailbox, or my kids bring up the mail, and inside the mail, there's a seed catalog or there's a chick catalog. And that brings such hope and excitement to our entire house when we get those catalogs. I don't know about you. I don't know if you get seed catalogs in the mail or chick catalogs, but these bring the hope of spring. And they completely apply to your health and you taking ownership of what's going to happen in your health. I'm going to tell you all about how they relate to each other. First of all, hi, I'm Esther. I have Hashimoto's. I'm a registered nurse. I have 4 boys, and I homeschool half of them. I have a super busy life, just like you. I have discovered in my, decades of working with patients that people are busy. You don't have to work as a nurse to figure that out. But specifically, talking with Hashimoto's patients, people with Hashimoto's, everybody is so very busy. It seems like we all carry so much weight. We all have lots of balls that we're juggling. We all wear lots of hats, whatever kind of analogy you want to use. Like, we are all busy. And so there's different things that each of us has to consider when we are looking at our health. And you are the CEO of your own health. You are in charge. You are the gardener. You are the chicken keeper. I don't know what they call those. Is there an official word? Like, a sheep herder is a shepherd. A dairy farmer, they're a dairy farmer. What's a chicken owner? I don't know. I have chickens. We have maybe 20-ish chickens, and I have roosters and I have hens. So technically I do not need to get chicks, but I've been looking through the chick catalog, and every spring I do this, or every January. I'm like, okay, I really need some new chickens. And every year it's like a discussion in our house. My husband's like, do we really need new chickens? Because we have a hen going broody in the spring. But this year I've looked at the catalog, and I want some new blue egg layers, and I want some new green egg layers. I feel like we don't have enough variety in our eggs. I mean, they're the same inside. It's just the aesthetics. And I know that. And I also want a couple that lay the deep, dark chocolate brown color egg. Again, same thing inside, but they're just so fun to look at. So every year, we flip through the catalog. It sits on our kitchen counter. Everybody is looking at the chick catalog. Not everybody looks at the seed catalog, but I feel like the seed catalog is more applicable to more people who listen to this podcast. So I don't know about you. Let me know, send me a message on Instagram or in our school community, and let's talk about chickens or your garden. I would love to know what you're looking at. So you are the CEO of your own health. You are the gardener of your health is a garden, and you are the gardener. And how this applies is that experts can guide you, but ultimately, it's up to you to cultivate your health. I use the CEO analogy a lot, so we're going to shift that to gardening. And it'll be gardening, not chickens, even though out of the two, I much prefer my chickens rather than the garden, because the chickens, sure, they poop, but there's no weeds. I don't really like weeds. I don't know about you. Not a big fan. I would like to go out in August or September and just harvest, not wade through a bunch of weeds that we did not deal with in the earlier part of the summer. So when you're looking at a seed catalog, there's a couple things that you need to know. First of all, you want to know your zone, and you want to know your soil type, because you have to be able to buy the right seeds. You want to know what's going to work. You wouldn't plant like a tropical plant. You wouldn't plant I wouldn't plant a pineapple in Minnesota because it's not going to grow. I wouldn't plant desert plants in my soil because it's not going to work. I see people with lemon trees in the seed catalogs, and they talk about how you can bring it inside in the winter so that it doesn't die. And that way, in a northern climate, you can still have a lemon tree, which sounds really cool. Also, I already mentioned, I think I have 4 boys, and I think I mentioned that I have 4 boys. Not, I think I have 4 boys. I absolutely have 4 boys. I know that if I brought a tree into the house, it would get knocked over. We have things flying around our house all the time, whether it's darts or paper airplanes or balls or arrows. They have set up a 10-meter archery range in my kitchen. I don't have like a kitchen, to the next room, and they have a little rope that cordons it off so that everybody stays safe. Like, I know my family, and I'm not going to get a lemon tree because it would not be safe to bring it into the house. So that's the number one thing when you're looking at seeds. You have to know what's going to work in your area. And so how does this apply to your health? Well, you have to know yourself. You want to know your symptoms. And if you know your diagnosis, you want to take that into consideration too. Like, if you know that you have Hashimoto's, you're not going to apply something that's related to a completely unrelated diagnosis. I mean, you're not going to look up and say, what can I do for chronic kidney disease when you have Hashimoto's? Maybe you have both, but they are not related. And I say that even as somebody who says all the time that everything is related to everything, and virtually every single disease comes down to a couple things, including inflammation and oxidative stress. So I have a hard time saying that, it's completely different, but there are completely different things, right? Chronic kidney disease and Hashimoto's. You are not going to approach them in the same way. So that is one way that you can look at your health as like a garden or looking at seeds. You want to know what your symptoms are and what your diagnosis is. If you don't have a diagnosis of Hashimoto's, you still know a couple of things. Like, you're listening to this podcast. So maybe you know that you have fatigue and you're completely tired. Maybe you know that you have brain fog. Maybe you are battling your metabolism. Like, there's so many things that you are working on, and those are the things that you're going to be looking for solutions for. So you want to know your gardening zone in your soil. You want to know your symptoms and your diagnosis. And of course, these are places that your doctor, your endocrinologist, your specialist, these can help you. And that is kind of like selecting the seeds in the plant. So you want to know your zone in your soil type, so that you can, even know what to look at in the seed catalog. And then you're looking at the seed catalog, and I don't know about you, but first I go through the entire thing. I look at every single page and I dream, okay, if I was in a tropical climate, if I was in somewhere warm, I would love to have this plant. And then you can get down to the reality. I live in Minnesota. Not everything is going to be here. So I look at, what would I love to have in my garden? And at this point, when I'm looking at the seed catalog, I'm still not contemplating like all the realities. I'm looking at all the possibilities. And that is what your doctor or your endocrinologist, your specialist, can help you with. They can give you all the possibilities. Maybe for your specific situation, the doctor is like, okay, I want you on some thyroid medication. I want you on Synthroid. I want you on low-dose naltrexone, like we talked about in the last episode with the pharmacist, the LDN. Maybe your doctor says, I want you doing red light therapy. We are going to have an episode about that in, I think, next month. I have a guest coming on. She's actually a nurse I worked with in the emergency department, and we have both gone into like the holistic health space, and she uses red light therapy. So we're going to talk about that. And maybe like there's a lot of different things that your doctor or your endocrinologist or your chiropractor can recommend. That's like the seed catalog, looking at the seed catalog and saying, all of these are a possibility. I could get, these shrubs, and I could get all these vegetables, and I can get all of these fruits. And my dream list is huge. When I'm looking through that seed catalog, it's like a little kid in the, back when, are you old enough to have the JCPenney's catalogs? When you were little, like we'd go through with a marker and circle everything. Now they get Amazon catalogs in the mail. And Amazon learned from that. They didn't used to have a catalog. Now they have a Christmas catalog they send to every household so that your kids can circle everything. I'm like that with the garden, with the seed catalog. Like I'm circling, I'm making this dream. Same with your health. You can have all of these dreams. Like maybe you want a sauna. Maybe you want an infrared sauna. Maybe you want the red light therapy. Maybe you want those vibration plates for your lymphatic system. There's so many different fun things, fun tools that you can look at. You're like, oh my goodness, I want that. All of these things would help. Maybe you want chiropractic visits. I had that at the beginning of this year and it helped so much. I had I think 26 visit package, and it was so helpful because the chiropractor even told me, he's like, you're doing so many things right. You're doing all of the right things as far as diet and lifestyle. We just need to get your nerves and your spine, your bones. We need to get everything in alignment so the nerves are sending the right signals. So maybe that's on your dream list. There are a lot of things where, your doctor or your specialist, they come in with all of these ideas that can help you. And that is super helpful. Just like the seed catalog, we have a dream list. Just like that, in your health, you have a list of things that could help, that you would love to do at some point in time. However, just like my garden, I don't have the space and I don't have the budget to do all of that. So you, as the gardener in this scenario, the gardener of your health, you need to choose what's going to work and what's not. Your doctor, your specialist, is there to give you the ideas and the suggestions, but you are the one who figures out, is this going to work for my life? Your chiropractor, maybe they're the ones who diagnosed you with Hashimoto's. That's the case for my sister. She has thyroid antibodies, and the chiropractor looked at her labs and said, you have this, and said, you need to go off gluten and dairy. Totally shut down my sister. Like, she still thinks about it and she's trying to do it. But that was the first thing that the chiropractor said to her. And my sister is like, what? No, I can't. What? It was not something that she could apply to her life at that point in time. She was the gardener. She had to say, this is going to work in my situation. This is going to work. Like, I have enough garden space for this. I have enough budget for this. That wasn't something, that huge dietary change wasn't something that she could do at that time because she is the gardener. She gets to make that decision. It's not the chiropractor's decision to make. It's the chiropractor or the endocrinologist or the doctor who gets to recommend that this might help. And remember how I said that by August or September, like, my garden is overrun with weeds because I didn't have the time, I didn't have the energy to take care of them. I could send my kids out to go weed the garden, but quite honestly, I have not trained them well to do that. And so they don't do a good job. I carry the burden of guilt on that one. Like, I should have trained them better, and I have not. So we are not a good weeding family. And then, things happen. Weeds grow. That's what they do. And we don't have as good of a harvest. Well, the same thing in your health. So the doctor gave you this wide array of, like, all of these things could help. And you get to look at that selection. You say, okay, these are the things that I actually have time and space and budget for. But then you also have to maintain. You have to figure out, do I have time, space, mental space, energy to maintain this? This is why I talk so often about choosing things that are simple and sustainable. Because if it's not sustainable, like, let's go back to the example of my sister, going off of dairy, sure, maybe she can do it for a day. She can figure out what to eat. But for her, it's not sustainable. She eats out at her mother-in-law's a lot. And so to have my sister have a special diet, it would really be my mother-in-law or her mother-in-law that has to make some accommodations. And that's not going to happen right now. Like, there's a lot of different things that make my sister say, this is not a choice. This is not a decision that's going to work right now. It's like the weeds growing up. She could do that change for a small amount of time, but then problems would happen. She's going to have some ice cream because ice cream is good. My grandpa just died. He was 97, and we had ice cream at his funeral because he loved ice cream. Like, even as he got into his later bad years with Alzheimer's, like, that was still, like, the one thing that he loved. He loved ice cream. And so we are an ice cream family. Are we going to give up our ice cream? Well, that would be really hard. Do they have dairy-free ice creams? They do. And that's a whole other topic. But you get where I'm going with this. You have to pick things that are sustainable, because if they're not sustainable, then just like not weeding your garden, you're not going to get a good harvest. And our goal is a good harvest. Our goal with the garden is a good harvest. Our goal with our health is abundant health, to feel like yourself again, to have enough energy to carry out the life that you want, to be fully present for your kids, for your family, at your job, in your recreational activities. You want to be fully present, and you need energy to be able to do that. Being a lump, just like, a lump like a rock, wherever you are, whether you're at the sports games, watching your kids, your work, even just trying to get through the day, getting the bare minimum, with the kids, or, making meals, just doing the bare minimum. It's so hard to go through life doing the bare minimum and wanting to be and do more. You need energy. And so we need to figure out what can work with the amount of energy that we have. Now, when it comes to choosing, dietary changes to make, I go through this with you in the Holistic Hashimoto's course, because a lot of things come down to what is going to work in your life right now at this time, with this season, with this amount of energy that you have. Like, what is going to work for you? And there's an entire week that we spend on your diet and figuring out, are there changes to be made? We all have changes. There's always things that we could do better, but figuring out what is going to make the most impact while being simple and sustainable. And I have 2 little ebooks in there. If you decide to go down one route or down another route, I have, supplies or resources for you so that you can make that work into your life. And then in a garden, you're also going to deal with weeds and pests. And of course, in our health, we have weeds and pests. We have things that crop up. And the biggest thing I see in this category is the things that bombard us that we don't choose. I live out in the country, and if I'm going on a walk in the early spring or any time in the summer, there is a chance that the farmers all around me could be spraying their crops. And so I try not to go outside during that time because, they're poisons and we don't want that. So that's, a big case of an environmental toxin that I would be exposed to. But we all have that. There are always things that come into our lives that are triggers that can harm our health, that could exacerbate our Hashimoto's. Maybe it's a huge stressful event. Maybe it's, like I said, the chemical toxins. Maybe it's inflammatory foods, like you ate something. There's a lot of different things, and we get to look at those as empowered people. Okay, this is what happened, and this is what I'm going to do in response. We don't have to be a victim. We don't have to just, blame the circumstances. We can look at it and say, what can I do? How can I recover from this? And how can I prevent it from happening again? The weeds in our garden are going to grow. We are going to have pests, the deer, the rabbits, whatever it is for you, maybe moles. I don't know. There's, rodents in your garden. Maybe those are pests that you have to deal with. Just like in our health, we also have to deal with pests and things that crop up. Stress, it is a pest, right? We want to be able to remove them. And there is an entire module in the Holistic Hashimoto's course about stress. We started out with stress because that is one of the easiest things that you can learn to take action against. You can't remove all stress. We live in one of the most stressful times in history. I think I said a couple of weeks ago on the podcast that I had heard, and I don't even remember the statistic anymore, that we are exposed to as much stress as our grandparents were in their entire life, and we're exposed in a very short amount of time. And if you remember that statistic, I don't even remember which episode it was. Let me know, because I want to learn that statistic again. I did not write it down. I just told it to you. So back to the garden. When you get that seed catalog in January or February and you're looking at it, you're not dreaming of all of the work. You're dreaming of the end result. When you're looking at all of the strawberry plants, you are picturing the strawberries. You're tasting, smelling the strawberries in your mind. Like you are picturing the abundant harvest. When you're looking at all of the different varieties of peppers. You're like, oh my goodness, look at those cute little mini ones. Look at the big ones. Look at all the colors. Look at this purple pepper. So cool. What would that be like to have it in my garden? It's the same thing with your health. You are dreaming and you're looking forward to better health. What would it feel like to have more energy? What would it feel like to not have brain fog? What would it feel like to have motivation? How would you be like functioning if your metabolism was working better and you could drop 10%, 20% of your weight? Like, how would that change your life? That's what you get to dream about, and that is what you get to implement. You are the gardener. You are the person who ultimately makes the decisions. Your doctor, your specialist, chiropractor, all of those, they make recommendations. They have the seed catalog. They help you figure out, your zone. You get to look at the size of your garden, the size of your budget. You get to look at how much time, how much mental energy you have to invest in different things. And you get to figure out how you get to implement all of the changes. You are the one making the decisions. Your health is in your hands. The seed catalogs come and we have lots of dreams. But then we get to do the work. And that is what I invite you to do. You have your health in your hands. And I have a tool for you. It is the seed catalog, except it's specific to you. The Holistic Hashimoto's course is designed for you. I have it set up so that it is specific, so that you look at it, you're like, okay, we're talking about stress. This is my situation, and this is what I can do. And I walk you through like different options, and I teach you how to do things. So the seed catalog of the Holistic Hashimoto's course is helping you do exactly what you have time, space, mental energy for. Everything in there is designed to be simple and sustainable so that you don't have to keep fighting all of the weeds. You don't have to keep fighting. I want you succeeding. But you are the gardener. You get to make the decision. It's not your doctor. It's not your endocrinologist. It's not your chiropractor. They have the suggestions, but you are the one in control of your health. Speaking of doctors, if you are going to use your FSA or HSA money for the Holistic Hashimoto's course, I do have a letter that you can print out. It's on the website, and then you can have your doctor sign it so that you have documentation for the IRS, because the IRS is in charge of your FSA and HSA money. So if you would ever get audited, then the IRS has proof that your doctor said that the Holistic Hashimoto's course is a good part of your treatment plan. The IRS says they want things that your HSA and FSA money are going for. They want it for treatment. And so that's why I have that letter. So your doctor can sign it and say, yes, this is what this person needs. So the link, of course, is down in the show notes. You can find the Holistic Hashimoto's course in our school community. It's in the classroom tab. The link down below will take you directly to the page where you can read more about it. You can get to the course either one of those ways. I always want to make it super simple for you. So head down to the show notes, click the link. I cannot wait to help you out through the Holistic Hashimoto's course, because you are in control of your health. And this is going to be a great thing for you to use as you take control. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any concerns and plans with your trusted healthcare professional. If you found this episode helpful, will you please share it with a friend? I'll see you next week on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.